Hello, friends. I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. Today, on my walk, I was listening to a podcast, which is, I do that sometimes. I walk every day. I don't always listen to podcasts. I usually meditate. I'll have on some like ambient noise or something, and then meditate, or I'll listen to my meditation app. But whatever. Today, I was listening to a podcast. It was, I believe, the Lore podcast. It was an older episode because I almost never listen to my podcast, so my my back catalog is huge, and so sometimes I'll just go through it. But regardless, for whatever reason, this episode was talking about the story of Faith. I think that's how you say it. For which, if you don't know. So Greek mythology, Phaethon was the son of Helios, and Helios is the god who makes the sun rise. And he drives a chariot basically, and in the chariot he makes the sun rise and he drives away. And his son was begging him to drive his chariot. And begging him, and finally he gives in, and Phaethon takes the reins and immediately loses control. The sun dips too close to the earth, and burns Africa, which is how the Sahara Desert got there. Which is like just the most nonsensical, like the whole thing, right? Like it talks about. I went and looked up a little bit more about Helios because I was curious about it. It talks about how. The summer days are longer because he pauses in the sky to watch the nymphs dance, and just bizarre stuff. And I've had this concept in my head for a very long time. We're talking like maybe even pre-high school, definitely during high school, probably pre-high school. I had written a story at that time, or at least written an outline. I don't know that I ever got the actual story done, but the idea was, it was called the Idiot and the Genius or something like that. And essentially it was like the birth of mythology, right? It was like two cavemen, and one had figured out like how to make fire, and the other one was a complete moron, and basically asked like, hey, how did you do that? And he just makes some stuff up. And then from there, it's all of mythology is born from that simple premise. And I wonder often, like when I hear a story like that these people told this story about this god, and these are not unintelligent people. The Greeks were, like, they knew math, they knew science, they knew that the earth was round and that the sun, it was complete nonsense. And it makes me wonder, I always wonder when I hear these stories, like, was this just a story that they told their children, or did they really believe this stuff? And I always wonder about this when we hear about these ancient myths. Like, are these like real? Like, is this something that people believed and worshipped and prayed to, and or was this like a children's story gone too far, like Christmas? I think I've used this exact example, maybe even on this show. Like, in 1,000 years, are we going to be talking about how people of the 19th and 20th and 21st century believe that a fat man stuffed himself down a chimney in their house and brought him presents and visited every home on the... Like, of course we don't believe that, but that's the story we tell our kids. When does that become mythology? Or is that how mythology is born, is the real question. Like, does mythology come from these sort of semi-sensical stories that we tell to people who don't understand reality? Children, essentially. Is the story of Helios just a children's story that we now say the ancient Greeks believed this and they worshipped this? Like, did they? I don't know. I don't know that I necessarily believe that's true, because you look at today's world, we have modern mythologies that people are just like, that's complete nonsense. Like, it's not, there is no... Even in kind of some of the most religiously dogmatic areas of the world, there's a large portion of the population who's just, they're going along with it because everybody else is. It's almost like a costume party at that point, and you're just like, well, I guess I'm here. But it's not an actual, like, belief system. And then there's the obverse of that. There are very real belief systems based on complete nonsense. And I'm not going to name any. Pick the one that you feel I'm talking about. I gotta wonder, this story of this kid driving his dad's chariot too close to the earth and burning Africa and causing the Sahara Desert. That's just like come on. Come on. I don't know. I guess I'm not really an anthropologist. I'm not really a scientist who could answer that question. But I feel like even if I were, if you were a scientist from the far future, came back to this time period, you would find, as we say that this is the stuff that the Greeks believed in or whatever, the evidence is these stories, these books, these scrolls, these carvings, whatever, you would find the same amount of stuff about Santa Claus in our modern society. You would find the idol, quote, idol of Santa Claus in all of our homes. You would find, the evidence of this worship, which I guess in some ways it kind of is, right? At what point does it stop becoming nonsense? And when does it become like, well, this is what we believe? Because I don't know. But I feel it's an impossible question to answer, right? Did they actually believe this? I don't know. I guess maybe the real question would be, is it written into their legal documents in some way, shape, or form? And even then, come on. Going back to pick your belief around the world, there are legal documents written to those beliefs as well. So it's just something I ponder. And so I guess I did end up meditating because I don't really remember the rest of the podcast. After he told the story, I started really meditating on this idea of when does a story become mythology, become the thing that we say we believe. Got any thoughts on that? Put it in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's 1,000 plus little things happy, successful people do differently. We're looking at 19 quick tricks to feel better instantly. Instant feel better. Number 1, wash your hands and face and brush your teeth. The simple act of cleaning these parts of your body is both reinvigorating and relaxing and gives you that fresh start feeling. Yeah, I think personal hygiene is a really nice thing to do. When I'm sick, for whatever reason, like when I have a sinus thing, I probably take like 3 to 4 showers a day. And it's just something about being in the shower, warm water. Sure, it breaks my sinuses up, but I think it just feels good to feel semi-human for 5 minutes.